Hey guys, it's Brandon from PPC Powerhouse. Today, I'm going to be doing a live audit on this account so you can get some real clear insights into what's actually going through, my mind, my thought process, and all that good stuff when I'm looking at an account for the very first time in real time and making suggestions, recommendations, or whatever it may be for the account or the client itself. Hope you enjoy. All right, but let's start off from kind of more of a generic standpoint here. Personally, I want to kick off by looking at the actual conversion goals here because that is where I notice some issues off the bat. So again, just to kind of reiterate, I'm not entirely sure of the full focal point goal. Either the lead gen, online sales, and all that. Obviously, I went through the full website and a little bit of your funnel, so I think I have a pretty good understanding. But regardless what the answer is, there's certainly some issues here within the actual conversion tracking itself. So let's go ahead and pull up a little bit more data. You can see I'm kind of pulling 90-day data here. First thing I notice is we do have two separate conversion actions for what are called purchases. Looks like one would probably be some sort of application. The other is just the imported GA4 conversion goal. Not seeing any recent data here. If we go further back though, however, we do see some data, 87 sales for roughly $4,300, but that hasn't recorded in over a year. So I'm gonna go ahead and just assume that isn't a primary focus or that's found somewhere else. So we should either remove those, fix those, or replace those. Scrolling down further, I do see form actions, right? We have 3 separate form events, technically 4, which we'll get into in a minute. This is within the last 90 days, so 3 of them actually do have conversions. However, all 3 are marked as primary. Even more concerning or confusing, all 3 are marked as primary, but this category here is not being used in any of the campaigns as a default goal, but this is. So let's further break that down, right? We have this sign up, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's a sign up page. Upon signing up, the user's redirected to the thank you page. Your tracking thank you page loads. That's pretty familiar. That's how I track forms and page views and stuff like that. That's fine. But 2 things. One, why do we have a conversion value assigned to a thank you page or a sign up page? And why is that conversion value so high? These aren't actual sales or purchases, right? Secondly, is this actually accurate? Do we really have 1,700 signups in the last 90 days? If so, that's great. If not, that's a concern. Because up here, we have pretty much the exact same conversion event. It's a page load of the same exact page. However, this one's only recorded 91 conversions. And then we have another one that's just simply lead form submit, which is Google hosted. I'm not sure what's that even tracking. But regardless, all 3 of these seem like the exact same thing, but they all have different numbers and they're all active. Why are all 3 of these active? If we're tracking form submissions or signups, there should only be one single event for that, and it should be marked as primary. So that needs to be looked into and resolved. Scrolling down more, we have the exact same thing again here, again with an entirely different number, right? We have a thank you page with 105. Meanwhile, none of these add up or even contain 105. So that's another concern, question, or issue to at least take a look at. Going down a little bit further here, we can take a look at the remaining events. These don't matter. These aren't important. You can remove these, but they're not really affecting anything. Now we have an inquiry page. That's probably just a generic standard page. I would remove this. This serves no purpose. And then this one down here is actually fine. Assuming this file download is some sort of like ebook or guide or resource, that's totally fine. You can stay. So obviously there's some issues with conversion tracking in general. And even further than that, we should just adjust generic conversion windows, attribution, and everything. Attribution should always be data-driven for all events. The conversion window should be a lot longer. 1 and 3 days is not enough. Everything should at least be 30. If a view through conversion window or the engage view conversion window is 3 days or less, that's not really going to be super accurate, right? If I click on your ad and then I convert 4 days later, I'm not going to be attributed, or even marked as a conversion in your Google Ads campaign or anything. So I would fix that. Even for form submissions and phone calls, that stuff matters, right? Right here, it's like, hey, look, you have to convert a form fill within 3 days of viewing our ad. Make it 30. That's pretty standard across most accounts. Taking a look at the settings now, we can kind of see a couple other things. For example, I didn't even see any phone call tracking, but we have this marked. We shouldn't be using calls from Smart Campaign ads. If we're actually tracking phone calls, we should probably go ahead and create a separate event for it, maybe called extension calls. Other than that, enhanced conversions seem set up. Just make sure this is all proper. It will help you get more accurate conversion tracking. Now looking at the actual campaign tab as a whole, again, I'm only looking at the currently enabled campaigns. Budget set to spend $17,500 a day, and we are nowhere near that. Now, I don't know if you're just long shooting the budget, setting a very, very high budget, and then using, target ROAS or target CPA to kind of trick the algorithm and get down a lower cost per conversion, or if you're actually trying to spend that, because it's kind of a double-edged sword here. For one, you're obviously not spending that, right? The last 90 days, we've spent 19,000. Well, at this rate, we're nowhere near that. We can actually see how much we're spending. We take a quick look, and we're averaging around under $400 a day, which is actually pretty shocking at how high your budget is. So you're spending $400 a day. Is that good? Is that bad? Is that too little, too much? Let me know. Additionally, if you are doing this target CPA, massively high budget, really restricting CPA strategy that some advertisers use, well, your conversions are all out of whack. You're tricking the algorithm, right? It's not going to work. You don't actually have 652 conversions. You don't actually have, 5,000 conversions or 4,000 ROAS or whatever it is, because all your conversions are out of line and just not properly set up. So therefore, that target CPA is probably not going to be optimizing for the best quality lead, click, user, or whatever it may be. Now we can focus on what's more so the bread and butter, right? The actual targeting, structure, all that good stuff. At a glance, it's pretty self-explanatory through the campaign structure, right? These are all individual courses or degrees you can pursue, per your service that you offer. Obviously, this campaign would be specific to people looking to get into medical administration or whatever degree or course or class is relevant to that profession. Same thing for healthcare, leadership, business, university website. I'm assuming maybe that's branded or that's just like a catch-all generic. We can dive deeper in that one. But when I was kind of skimming through it, there's some initial concerns, right? Let's take this one, for example, medical administration. Okay, seems simple enough. But every single keyword in here, not only is it broad match, which I am very much mostly against, as it's going to show your ads for very generic and very broad and relevant terms, but you're actually targeting very broad and generic terms. College courses is one of your keywords. That is so beyond broad. That's going to auto match to pretty much anyone or anything looking for a college course. Doesn't matter if it's about, ASU or looking to get into college or going to a specific college or looking up their college course portal, but it's certainly going to mostly miss the mark for what you're actually doing and selling. Now, something like medical certificate programs, that makes way more sense. I would much rather put my money into exactly what it is I'm selling or pushing rather than something generic, right? That just doesn't make sense to go after these keywords like college courses, education schools, higher education, university courses, online universities. Now, because of your budget and you do offer so many different courses, there's certainly a place for these keywords, right? We could have a generic or a catch-all campaign that encompasses the majority of these broad keywords. So you can still attract that broad audience that maybe doesn't know what they're looking for and wants to find you and discover you. That's totally fine. And I think you should have a generic or a catch-all campaign that you can then encompass all these broad and generic terms for. But for campaigns that are hyper-focused around one specific area or service, such as this one, which is online medical administration, healthcare management, basically just healthcare and medical profession, you should have healthcare and medical profession related keywords, right? Like medicine degree, healthcare management degrees, online healthcare management course. Boom. Those are the exact keywords you're wanting to target. Additionally, you do not want to be going after broad match. Let's just take a look at your search terms. I'm still inside the medical administration campaign, going back 90 days. We can sort by whatever here, but come on, at a glance, this is pretty crazy. I'm just going to click through some of these, and I don't think any of these matter or make sense. Like this one's actually specific to Canada. I didn't see you were targeting Canada for one. Some of these, I'm not even sure what they are or what they mean, and that's enough to tell me they're relevant. In fact, I would probably assume 90% of this is going to be pretty relevant. Now, some of these are like, okay, like we're getting close. Medical administrative assistant. That person's probably looking for a job or looking to know more about what that job entails. But hey, that's closer than most stuff here. Healthcare quality professional certification. That sounds perfect to me. That's probably someone looking to get certified in this exact niche. Career paths medical. That's even better. That's someone who's interested in the medical field, looking up a career path, which inevitably means they'd be interested in your school, your college, your online degree, whatever it may be. Now we can sort by some other columns. Let's sort by impressions, right? These are going to show us search terms the last 90 days with the most impressions. This is hideous. University of North Alabama. Your ads have shown 109 times for people searching for University of North Alabama. I guess you could have a competitor's campaign or something, but come on, that's That's pretty bad. And then everything else in here is just horrible. This keyword isn't even English. Everything else is just generic, irrelevant, and has nothing to do with healthcare management or medical administration, other than maybe these two bottom ones here, right? Okay, let's look at cost. What keywords, search terms have we actually spent money on? It's still not getting any better. There's a couple that are better. Healthcare discipline, I mean, that's somewhat, it says the word health in it, but it's still pretty irrelevant. All of these are university lists, admissions, scholarship, how to do this, what is this? And these are basically people just looking up lists and other academies and other colleges. This is so far fetched and so wrong. Now, I mean, your ad copy, sure, it's aligned to healthcare management, medical administration, all that good stuff, but you're completely attracting the wrong audience. Now, hopping out over to this campaign, which is healthcare degree, this is like a night and day difference here. These keywords are far better. Now, I still don't care for the broad match, but this is something that's so niche and kind of hyper specific where maybe the broad match can work. And we can kind of double our efforts here by actually checking the search terms. And upon looking at it, this looks a lot better. I would put a lot more money in this campaign than the other one. That's for sure. So this one's a lot more aligned. I still may push for you to use and utilize phrase or exact match keywords, but generically speaking, this one's a lot better. And we can kind of just breeze through some of the other campaigns, but most of them are going to find the same issues. Like leadership degree. Well, leadership's kind of already a generic, field in itself. So these aren't the worst, but they still aren't the best, especially when you actually, again, take a look at the search terms and it's kind of all over the place, right? Maybe we look at one more campaign. We can look at university website, right? What is this? And in this case, this is actually would be kind of more your generic or your catch-all campaign that I keep talking about that I think you should utilize. And this would be a great foundation for it. This one would probably be an exception because you probably could get away with the majority of the keywords being phrase match here, or sorry, broad match here, because you're trying to get a bunch of new audiences. Now, the targeting you have now, though, really isn't the best. I mean, a lot of these are still kind of all over the place and really just totally relevant. I mean, it's an issue when you have all these different search terms for websites, other competitors, other places, out of country, just really nothing relevant. And if we look at the account whole, all the campaigns combined and sort by what we've spent the most on search terms, I mean, it's just completely off, right? I mean, most of these really are pretty irrelevant. The ones that I'm not highlighting maybe make sense. But most of the ones that I'm highlighting are pretty irrelevant and far-fetched for what we actually want to target, right? So big component and issue in this account outside of the conversion tracking concerns is going to come down to our actual targeting itself. Now, something else worth noting in this account and across majority of your campaigns is we are targeting a very broad and wide array of countries, which is fine. Obviously you probably service these countries, you sell to these countries, you have some data backing up why we're targeting these countries. But we have them all condensed in one campaign, which is really two issues. One, language barriers. I mean, looking through these campaigns, both in this list here and just the global grid here, pretty big language differences, right? People in Canada and for whatever reason, this one state in the United States are going to speak a different language than those in Ukraine, Spain, Pakistan, China, India, all these other countries, right? So that's something to think about, as well as the actual language settings of the campaign itself. Now, look, if we only want to show our ads to people who speak English in those countries, then we're going about it probably the right way. Otherwise, you're probably excluding or missing out on the remaining 90% of the demographics, as they will not know English as their primary language. So yeah, I mean, in that case, if you really want to do it right, you'd have to separate a lot of these out by language or specific countries and then translate the ads or keywords. Otherwise, if we're only looking for people who speak, read, and write English, then I guess we're going about it the right way. Furthermore, though, another concern would really be the allocation of these countries. So this is only a 90-day period. Maybe I go further back. But something I always reference when accounts like this is the actual budget allocation. In this case, we have all countries combined under one campaign. That means there's going to be a couple outliers that really stand out in terms of volume, right? I mean, these three countries here, just put simply, they're like 80% of the actual spend in the last 90 days. Whereas all of these other countries have barely spent any money. Now, is that something to be concerned about? Will kind of be more up to you, right? Do we care about these other countries? Meaning, are there any countries here that are like top priority? For example, if you said that most of your clients or sales came from Canada and Jordan, well, we should probably have those in a separate campaign just to ensure they're fully spending. Otherwise, Google's going to allocate your budget to the highest areas of volume, which in this case are these three areas, right? meaning it's kind of overshadowing these other countries, which is a grand majority. I mean, there's a lot. You're basically not serving ads in the other 36 countries that you target. That may be something you want to be concerned about. And we can take a look at a much deeper scale here. We can look at all-time data, and then boom, you can kind of see here, these are the breadwinners, right? These 4 countries here have pretty much consumed the budget, and then nothing else. Same goes across, other campaigns too, right? We can do the same experiment. We can sort by all time or maybe recent data. We can see where we spent the most and where we spent the least. And if there's a country on that list that you absolutely want to be targeting, again, like Canada maybe, but it's not spending anywhere near what you want it to spend, it's because it's kind of being consumed by all these other high population, high volume countries. And that's when you want to start thinking about campaign separation, segmentation, and budget allocation. There's certainly a whole lot more we could uncover in this account and really go over in depth. But hopefully this provided you some pretty good insights and guidelines for the account, structuring your account, making any changes, optimizations, recommendations, or honestly just overall positive feedback. If you have any questions, concerns, or whatever at all, let me know, and I'm more than happy to assist or dive deeper into your account.